Rack and roll, shadows of Centris. Cleanup was fairly efficient, although aggravating. The girls had been spooked badly by the tree eye, and it had run off in response. Calling out to the little thing hadn't gotten them anywhere, as it either wasn't going to show itself or was already too far away to find. Understandable for a being that had just witnessed them open up all hell on power-armored opponents, especially considering that the creature likely made things harder for them. Considering that people it had come to help had screamed at it, running was just the smart thing to do. They get a basic description of the tree eye in question. Golden brown fur, barely 2 feet tall, massive eyes, a presence that screams death, doom, and damnation even more clearly than Ahmadi's little glimpse into hell. A bandolier with belt and some kind of stick for some reason. Maybe a walking stick? Maybe a cultural effect. The 2 surviving attackers are cuffed up and dragged into containment. The power armor is hustled into the ship and the girls are escorted on as well. The corpse is picked up, and only after the cleanup is finished do the police finally arrive. "You've taken your time," Koa notes as a trinity of Platin women rush out and quickly scan the area. "We got a call about a damaged bus. I'm seeing a war zone with undaunted madness right in the middle of it." "What is going on?" one of the officers demands, and a man in an officer's uniform walks up to her. "Ma'am, I'm Captain Haddad. I think it would be best if we were to speak," the man says, and she turns on him. Oh, this should be good. What stretch of the imagination makes it reasonable or rational for there to be extensive burn marks across the platform, public transport with a massive hole in its side and bodies in the street? Simply put, several of our soldiers were attacked by terrorists and were forced to defend themselves. "Really?" the police officer asks, and Captain Haddad brings out a communicator which he shows to the officer. "We've been recording things from their armor. We don't have video properly up yet, but here's our audio communications," he says, and she starts listening to things. "Don't have the video up yet. Need to doctor it a little?" she asks in a too sweet tone. Synchronizing 3 different feeds together. They were in the same area, so at worst the audio gets a little garbled at worst, but the visual feeds are another matter entirely. "I see. Perhaps you could simply send the separate files. We need to be sure of what happened and make sure we know what's going on." "Certainly. A minute if you please," Captain Haddad says, taking the communicator back and taping through some quick menus. "Here you are." "Thank you," the officer says before looking him up and down. So, Captain Haddad asks. "Are you doing anything tonight?" she asks him. Captain Haddad pauses, visibly reads the name tag on her gigantic breasts and visibly considers it. "Possibly you, Officer Shine, always, if we can match up our schedules. I have another 5 hours on this shift." "5 hours? Did you just start?" Officer Shine demands. "No, I'm just a little under half done," Haddad says. "Hey, can we go now? The armor is pinching me in the unmentionables, and I'd like to get it off before it completely cuts circulation," Reggie remarks, and there's a pause before everyone looks at him awkwardly. Thankfully, that pushes things along a bit, and they're shortly lifting off. The civilians decide to go with the police, and the looted materials and captives are legally confiscated. That's the problem about working in the bounds of the law. You can't go full Viking on your enemies. Not that the local girls would mind too much if a big hairy man threw them over their shoulder and ran off with them. Regardless, they're back at the Dauntless within a half hour, and a small team is helping each of the 3 men out of their armor. There were painful difficulties to extracting them, but aside from some bruises, they were mostly fine. Although Reggie was walking funny for a bit. Then comes the paperwork, all about the enemies, what they saw, how the armor worked, their thought processes, and how to improve the equipment. Reggie writes long and with great detail how it needs more crotch room to potentially avoid castrating more endowed members of the Undaunted. How with human physiology, One size does not fit all, even if there are averages to accommodate for and basically ballpark everything. He then goes on to suggest several possible machines and methods to be used to quickly and easily measure out a soldier and modify the equipment fast. Talonor of Longleaf Clan looks over the massive vessel from his place in the shadows. The human ship, a race born in the null. He hadn't believed it. Who could? The idea was absurd. Even his own kind, capable of all but unraveling other races with merely a touch, were not immune to null. It brought them not to their knees, but it did bring about paranoia and pain, until finally the poor soul took their own life to escape the indescribable spiritual agony and feeling of utter emptiness. He himself had tested himself once with the null. A single second had brought about such a feeling of doom that his fur still stood on end whenever he thought of it. Still, they had searched for him. He had brushed against the absurdest painting of fire and damnation and shattered it. The one spinning the illusion had panicked, but had not fallen aside. The girls had screamed, as always happened, even from those that claimed to be friendly. He was just thankful they hadn't drawn weapons on him as so many others did. He then jumps in terror as a hand engulfs his entire shoulder. A jump and spin has his staff out in front of him like a spear. It appears to be a human, albeit one completely dressed in dark blue to black and with a gray visor over the eyes. It's armed. It's very, very armed, but there are no hostile movements as the human is simply crouched down to be closer to his level and holding out his hand to show there is nothing in it. "What do you want? Who are you?" Talonor demands, uncomfortably aware that the bladed weapon on the human's back is as tall as he is. If it comes out, then his staff won't mean much. The human slowly stands up and Talonor takes a step back in caution as the enormous being rises up. The human gestures for him to follow and walks out towards the massive spaceship. Talonor takes a few moments to consider and think. He hadn't made any hostile moves. He hesitates for a few moments, his eyes wide as one of the guards around the ship starts wrestling with air, grabs a hold of something and then throws. For a brief moment, a cloaken woman can be seen fading into visibility and then out of sight once more. "Is that common?" Talonor asks the human, who turns and gestures to where the cloaken landed. "Yes, that. Is it common?" The human nods their head and once more beckons for Talonor to follow. He considers it for a moment before sighing and walking out from the cover he had found. There's a scream of abject terror before he's even halfway there, and the sound of something with clawed feet racing away fast. The sign of nearby cloaken. Talonor sighs and soldiers on. His patrol as a seeker will end soon and he'll return to the lush canopies of the homeworld. He may have tested high for independence and resilience, but you could only go so long being treated like a monster before you start to believe it. "The heck kind of alien is this?" one of the guards asks, and the other shoots him a glare. Were they curious and scolding each other for a lack of courtesy? That doesn't happen. "So, do you talk at all?" Talonor asks the silent human, who shakes his head. He pulls at his outfit and then puts a finger to his lips. "Are you trying to tell me that you're not allowed to speak while in uniform?" He receives a nod in return. "You should know ahead of time then that most tech fails pretty fast on me when I'm not trying, and I can spread it out too. If you or your people try to pull something, then I can outright break parts of this ship easily." "Oh dear, that would be a problem now, wouldn't it?" an older voice says, and an elderly human walks around the corner. "We just have a few questions for you. Hopefully a fine snack, provided that our offerings are palatable by your kind, and that's all." What? They were inviting him in for a chat and snacks? "So you want to interrogate me?" "Why interrogate when we can have a pleasant conversation with tea? I highly doubt anything we want to know is precious or secret to you, and you'll of course be allowed to ask a few questions of your own. I dare say it sounds like a win-win young... Sir? Madam? Sir, I am Talinor of the Longleaf clan, seeker to my people, Talinor says with a thump of his staff and a short formal bow, paw to forehead as is proper. I am Sir Philip Bernard Masterson, a British national. I was pulled out of my retirement for possibly the most important mission in the history of humanity. I dare say it has taken some truly unexpected turns. Sir Philip says with a slight bow of his own. I see. May I ask what your duties are? My duties are to aid wherever I can. I have had a very long, very full, and very interesting life that has lent itself to endowing me with a very large number of skills. These skills range from numerous types of information filing and sorting to teaching to simple service, as well as several other directions. Please follow me so we may speak with each other more plainly. Silent, you may go now. The dark-clad human gives Sir Philip a slight bow and walks away. Why do you need a soldier like that? They're actually a copy of one of my personal students. He found a methodology that worked very well in the field, and it's being used and reused so we may have more people of his caliber out and about. Sir Philip explains as he gestures for Talinor to follow and begins leading him away at a pace that the tree-eye can keep up with comfortably. Yes, but why? Talinor asks. His eyes are scanning the area in case this turns out to be the latest trick in the galaxy's endless cruelty. Even though the galaxy seems to be so very eager to have us humans in it, there's still been a rash of bad actors, worse intentions, and malevolent stupidity. Someone who is focused entirely on a mission, doing the mission quickly and quietly and leaving? Very, very useful, Sir Philip says as he opens a doorway and leads Talinor into a sitting room with numerous well-stuffed chairs with a low coffee table between them. I do apologize, but our furniture is not currently in the appropriate size for a tree-eye, Sir Philip says, but Talinor simply vaults up onto one of the plush chairs and settles in. Ah, I see. Very good. Would you care for some herbal tea? Perhaps some biscuits? How about the truth? The truth? Sir Philip asks. When's the truth going to come out? What do you want? We just want to know what happened. You are the same tree-eye that was there when our soldiers were fighting off those power-armored madwomen? Sir Philip asks as he sits down himself. I was. I'm a seeker. I look for potential friends to the tree-eye people. A long, fruitless endeavor, as even those who logically know we mean no harm still scream at the sight of us. As Madame Gurgle proved, Sir Philip notes grimly. The door opens and Talinor dives behind his seat. Bad time? A young-sounding voice asks as Talinor glances over the armrest of the chair. A human, young, roughly the same size as the silent one. More angular features and ruddier skin than Sir Philip. He's holding a tray with a large pot, several cups, and a plate of some things that look, actually, pretty good. Just a misunderstanding, Mr. Shin. Please bring in the tea and biscuits before returning to your duties, Sir Philip says, and Shin sets down the tray on the low table between them before leaving. Now then, as a seeker, what are you seeking in specific? Sir Philip asks as he holds out a cup of tea for Talinor to take. Talinor instead goes for a biscuit and takes a sniff of it before a bite. Sir Philip's eyebrows quirk slightly before leaning back and having the tea himself. Anything that would help my people, Talinor says after swallowing his first mouthful. Pardon? Sir Philip asks. Anything that would help my people. We Tree-eye are neither liked nor welcome in the galaxy. We know this, so we stay out for the most part. But, well, with the entire galaxy out there, you cannot help but keep looking for more? Sir Philip asks. Yes, there's so much, but everyone keeps saying not for us. It's not fair. Talinor grumps. You're quite correct. It isn't fair. You agree? Yes, a person should be judged for their deeds and not for their circumstances, Sir Philip says, taking another drink of the tea. The entire time Talonor is staring at him. Is something the matter? You're not afraid of me? I don't see why I should be.